welcome to another episode of Life Lessons with Scott and Friends. Today I'm joined solo by Mr. Benjamin Dorsey up in Nashville, great city, one of my favorite places to hang out. So thanks for coming on with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't have missed it for the world.
So I was thinking about our episode, and I've had Andrea on solo, and then her and Kimberly were on, and then of course you joined Andrea last time out, and so having you join solo tonight, I thought a general question, you can kind of take it wherever you want. But I was just curious as to being the youngest, what was it like being the youngest Dorsey kid as you came up?
Yeah, being the youngest of the Dorsey clan, as we often referred to ourselves, I think it was just really interesting, because we were all so close in age. It wasn't like I was the youngest and all of my older siblings were 4 or 5 years older than me. Kyle was just a year older than me. We grew up together quite literally. And even Kim and Andrea are only like 3 and 4 years older than me. So still pretty close in age. But I think that each of us, due to just our personalities and where we were in line, of age, we all had very unique experiences growing up. I think that mine was kind of really showed itself to be a different thing in high school, just because I kind of took a different path, and necessarily was quite a bit different in the way I went about things. But it was just, with Kim was the pioneer, blazing the trail for the rest of us. And Andrea and Kyle were I'd say fairly stereotypical middle children at many points, except in relation to their competitiveness. Then I think all of us had a tendency to act like a firstborn. But I think through like elementary and middle school, I definitely felt like the youngest kid, and definitely felt like I was kind of in my siblings' shadows as they were, starting to develop social lives and things like that. And I was still quite awkward and and kind of a goofy kid. But in high school, I kind of got a chance to, because they were, Kyle jumped up a grade, and Andrea and Kim were already in college. So, the last 2 years of high school, I was by myself. So I went from being the youngest to the only. And so I kind of got to, for better, for worse, explore, life as a high schooler. And I think that I was maybe a little bit more willing to push boundaries and kind of see how far things could go, and how far I could get on my own, and what I could do. I mean, I think that I was ready to leave the house probably at the beginning of senior year. Well, I thought I was ready.
Yeah, you definitely thought you were ready.
That's how I felt.
And real quick, for those who may not know our history, it's Kim and Andrea graduated high school and went on, like you said, to college. All of you kids were homeschool educated until 8th grade, when Kim went to school, Heritage Academy, and then Andrea followed the next year. And then Kyle shortly thereafter. You went 2 years to Heritage Academy, and then I remember the summer you talked to your mom and I about wanting to be a part of Lanier and Lanier High School in Gwinnett County, and
it was at the football tournament.
Yep,
It was the first time we brought it up.
you also played.
Yeah,
you played for the Force football team, which I was a coach of, head coach actually at that time, and I was starting to talk about the following year and what the expectations might be, and you were kind of like, yeah, about that.
Yeah, I remember that conversation because we were walking back from the banquet hall back to the rooms.
Yep.
And you had started to talk about me kind of stepping into a bigger role on the team. And I was like, well, now's a better time than any.
So it was admirable the way you approached it, and just basically, matter of fact, hey, Pops, this is what I'm thinking. And it was because you wanted to be a part of something new and to be part of the group that got to kind of establish Lanier High School and what it might be about. And then from the football perspective, to be one of the original players. And while you look at Lanier High School now, and they're perennial running in the for a playoff spot, and made the playoffs this year. So
they got kids.
You guys set was spot on.
Yeah, I was super excited to see kids that were in 8th grade, my senior year. One of them's playing in the NFL right now, and that's I can't pretend to have so much to do with that, but I was there. I was at least there at the beginning. But to our earlier conversation, I think that decision was, I don't think I realized it at the time, but looking back, I think it's very easy to see that my decision to go to Lanier was very much influenced by the fact that when I was at Heritage, I was constantly being compared to Kyle, Andrea, and Kim. I mean, on a daily basis. I actually had a teacher. God, I can't remember what teacher it was. That's probably for the best. But she asked me point blank why I couldn't be more like my older siblings. And that just, I mean, how I was then. Like, I didn't like being compared to anybody for anything. And, that was just kind of that was the attitude a lot of the staff there. And I was decidedly not my older siblings, and I made great lengths to not be them. Not that there's anything wrong with them. I admire them all, but me as a punk sophomore kid, so that definitely influenced my decision to go to public school, because I didn't like living under a shadow of people who weren't even there anymore.
Right.
Because Kyle went and did the year at North, and Kim had left, so it was really just me and Andrea that one year. And I had no desire to keep doing that. So but it all worked out. I mean, I think it was for the best, and I definitely had plenty of struggles and growing pains at Lanier, but I think that those went a long way to kind of building, my foundation and things that I had to learn years down the road. Like, oh, hey, yeah, that wasn't probably the best decision to make, and you should probably work on that and learn from that. So some of it was slow growth, but I think there was a lot of growth that happened over those 2 years.
For your mom and I, it was much like when we decided to let Kyle go to North for a year. We felt like you were in a place and had shown enough maturity to be able to handle the transition to public school, and that you would actually fare probably better than you were at Heritage. And that proved to be true, and that's credit to you. Aside from the growing pains, learning lessons that we all have to learn,
Yeah.
I think you handled those 2 years quite well overall. Yeah, so that was. I think you handled yourself very well during that transition time. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, you know, part of the uniqueness of how we were all raised was that, you know, we all, I feel like, and sometimes more than others, but we all had a great mutual respect for each other as siblings. And that's something that's only grown, you know, over the last 10 years, to the point where, you know, I don't think that any of us really feel like we're in a certain position among us kids. You know, there's no, well, he's the baby of the family and she's the eldest, and it doesn't really feel like that. I mean, when we get together, we're just siblings, you know. It's just, so I think that my position as the youngest child definitely impacted how I thought and how I did things early on and up through high school. But, you know, once I got out of high school, I mean, I left pretty much immediately. And so I had to, it was a simultaneous, I got to stop acting and thinking of myself as the youngest, but then also I had to stop. And I couldn't, that wasn't a crutch that was available anymore. You know, especially once I got out to Phoenix, you know, I didn't have big brother, big sister out there with me. I had some great friends with me, but, you know, I had to learn to, you know, exist outside of that family structure and find a new family structure. So it was I got to do it, but also I had to do it.
Yeah, that's it. I find it interesting that you did a gap year program, and then you went and you were with your sister for a year, living in Statesboro, before you made your way to Phoenix.
Yeah.
What I thought was really great at the time, and still do, was how you were able to connect. And you alluded to it just a moment ago about creating a new family environment. Well, you actually kind of became involved in a family out there, and so it was. That's when you went to Phoenix. There was apprehension of, as a parent, man, I hope this works out. I hope this goes. And wow, it could have gone better. I know you had some trials and tribulations, probably some I don't even know about, but seeing how you progressed and made your way through that with the family out there in Phoenix, really kind of just further solidified, I don't know, your ability to accept new challenges, new roles, and make your own way. That has paid off great. Looking back over the last 10 years.
Well, in Phoenix was a very, like, I don't know. I still look back very fondly on those 4 or 5 years that I was out there. You know, just because, you know, I didn't, at the end of the day, if I had to, I could have found a way back home. You know, I knew that. And that's, you know, something I've always appreciated about you and Mom, that especially, you know, early on after all of us left high school, us coming back home and having kind of a safety net was always on the table. And that was always something that we understood, but that would still be a very expensive and pride diminishing venture if I had gone out to Arizona for 3 months and then had to come home right away. So I truly didn't feel like I had a safety net, because if I had not made it out there, and if I had to come home, that would have felt like I would have felt like a failure. And that just seemed unacceptable. Of course, I really went out there with nothing, and no job lined up, and but it made me hungry, and I think I had never been. I don't think at any point in my life I had been hungry up to that point.
Right.
Like, truly, just like, if I don't find a way to make this work, I'm gonna fail. This is not, I can't not succeed. So, that was the first time that, I really struggled to find a job, and I was walking, 6-7 miles a day with a stack of resumes, which were not very great resumes, but they were there nonetheless. Thankfully, that gap year program helped a lot. But walking and just dropping one off at any business within 6 miles of the apartment, and I did that for a couple weeks. I didn't get any calls back, and then finally, I went into Sears. I had applied online, and then I went into Sears and dropped my resume off, and got a call back the next day, and that was the next 3 years of my life, working in retail hell. But it was exactly what I needed at the time. My pastor at the time, who was a part of that family that you had mentioned, Dan, he always talked about how life is about seasons, and you find yourself in different seasons of life. And if you're not happy with the season of life you're in, you either need to evaluate whether that's actually the season of life you're in, or just the circumstances you're in and you need to get out of them, or do you need to lean into that season and get all that you can get out of it. And I think for me, that was just a season of just work. I mean, I had no real true idea of what the corporate, or what the workforce, what any of that looked like, really. Not truly. Not when it's, you work 8 hours a day, you come home, you eat, you sleep, and you go back. And that was the first time I'd ever really been in that kind of environment. And so it was like 3 years of learning that and being in that season of life. And I've found myself in many, many seasons of life since then. But that was definitely a very impactful one.
Yeah. So you were in Phoenix for what, 3 years, 4 years?
I think 4, because I want to say 4.5, because it took me a couple months to find a job, and then I was at Sears for almost exactly 3 years, and then I was at the bar for probably about a year and a couple months. So I want to say 4.5 years.
Yeah. So it's I just remember when you left, it was and I don't know that I've ever really talked to Kimberly about this, but it was similar in the fact of she wanted to go away to school, and found Mary Baldwin, and I'd be curious to know from her. I think she wanted kind of that same thing that you were talking about, to be away, to where it's, hey, I've got to do this. Mom and dad aren't right there, so I'm going to do this. And I think it was a great year for her. And I don't think she'd give anything for that year she had up there. I know she wouldn't. But yeah. So you go to Phoenix, you come home for a little while. which was fun. It's when you're talking about getting away or graduating high school, your mom and I remember telling each of you, once you leave, you don't have a room here anymore. You're always welcome to come home and stay
Yeah.
for, whatever time you need. But
Right.
you don't have a room here anymore. And I remember when Kim moved out, Andrea moved into the basement, and then you guys kind of moved around. And when she left, Kyle was gone, and you guys had your own rooms. And then when he left, same thing. It was like you weren't going to keep your bedroom,
Right.
basically. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. So what was the most challenging part, Phoenix or since then, that you find has been your biggest adjustment, I guess?
I mean, I think that there's been a couple. It just kind of depends on what area of life you're talking about. But I think in general, what everyone has to adjust to is your level of responsibility, because in some small part, before you leave your parents' house, you're responsible for less than yourself. Overall your well-being is still under the responsibility of your parents to some degree, and so you're responsible for less than a whole human. And then when you leave, you kind of have to adjust being responsible for your whole self. And it's there's plenty of jokes on the internet about like, oh, I'm an adult now, I can eat whatever I want, somebody please stop me, because there's I think every kid has a moment where they get out of the house and they Home Alone style just do all the things they've wanted to do, and then whether that's food or drink or whatever, and then you wake up the next morning and you're like, oh, okay, that's why I wasn't allowed to do that. That makes a lot of sense now. But adjusting to that, and then now where I'm at with me and Amy building a home together, and kind of working through what that's like, and we've got a dog, and so now it's adjusting to being responsible for more than myself, and being responsible for things that I don't have full control over, and being responsible for with the work situation where I'm now a manager, and part of a new restaurant that's building up its clientele, and building its staff, and so I'm adjusting to being responsible for more than myself, and that's its own adjustment, because now you have to start making decisions not solely based on how they affect you. You have to make decisions based on how they affect every aspect of your responsibility. And that's an adjustment that takes time. And that takes messing up. That takes doing it the wrong way. As with each stage. But you only I had a mentor who once told me that it is one of life's great tragedies that the best way to learn is from experience. And that's, we naturally learn the hard way.
Yeah, I look at it as failure as another opportunity to get it right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's yeah. So if you went back 10 years, as you start to head out on your own, what would be the one lesson you would like to take with you?
Oh gosh. Um, Man, that's a tough question because I think about how poorly I managed money, and I think that in some respects I have a very similar mind now where I want to enjoy myself, and I don't want to just keep you know keep all my thoughts and focus on the future and not enjoy where I'm at currently. But I think that if I could go back and I could tell my younger self one thing, it'd be that, like, there's nothing wrong with living paycheck to paycheck, but when you don't have to, don't.
Right.
And I think that there were times where I had to, and there were times where I didn't have to, and I still did, and that extended the amount of time that I was living paycheck to paycheck. And yeah, I think that a lot of my stress and a lot of the situations that I found myself in the last 10 years that weren't as good as they could have been, a lot of it was unfortunately money related, and just my complete inability to manage funds, which, again, you talk about learning the hard way. Well, I've made enough mistakes, and it's started to sink in a little bit, and so I'm making greater strides towards financial stability, and that seems like, you talk about like great life lessons that you could pass on to your younger self. Don't go to this party, don't do this thing, or make sure to invest in this. But really, I would just say, and manage your funds better, just a little bit. you know start saving something.
And that's unfortunately for you guys, your mom and I kind of went through the same life lesson there, learning how to manage our money, our family income, still learning. And we're in a better position today, but truth is, it took us a while to get to where we felt like, okay, we're somewhat in control. I think that's one of the things I try to stress, to people even now, is, as much as we like to think we're in control, as much as we like to think we can handle anything that might come up, especially from a financial standpoint, you never know what's gonna bite you and put you in the hole. So I personally don't think you could save enough. But that is a lesson that I too had to learn the hard way. So
Yeah.
I'm with you there.
Well, and I think that's that's it, kind of goes along with it. Of course, money and pride are so well connected, but just instead of just trying to do everything myself, when I truly did have resources available to me, and just didn't think I needed to, didn't think it was important, and I'll get out of this eventually, and that's never the case. If there's anybody listening to this that's in that mindset of, I don't need help, I'll get out of this eventually, you won't.
Yeah.
You won't. It's not just gonna magically happen. There's work that needs to be done, not just going to work, but on the back end of things, whether it's management, whether it's reallocation, whether it's just reaching out to somebody and saying, like, hey, like, I need help right now so that I don't need more help later.
I had someone tell me one time that, because early on we struggled, and I had someone that wanted to help our family, and you mentioned pride. I was like, I've got it. I'll figure it out. I'll get through this, and we'll be okay. I don't want to ask for help. And the person said, well, can I submit to you? You're maybe looking at it the wrong way. There are people who want to be a blessing to you. They're in a position and they want to help, not for any other reason that they know it'll be a blessing to you. And you, by you not allowing them to do that, you're essentially taking away a blessing from them. And it's
Right.
like, okay, that's I can buy that. I can understand that, especially being on this side of it now, where that's one of my favorite things to do, is to be able to give to this or to give to that,
Right.
because I can. It's a blessing to me, and I wish I had understood that earlier when I was younger. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, but pride is an evil thing.
Yes. Yeah. It is. It's a little bit of both, because I think pride pushes us to be the best versions of ourselves. But
Yeah,
pride also keeps us from being the best version of ourselves. So you've got to figure
potentially.
out the basement and the ceiling of what pride is.
Yeah, yeah. It's just you've heard me say this before. A lot of it's about balance. Find that balance, like you said before. It's I wanna be able to do and enjoy life as it's happening. I don't want to just put my nose to the grindstone and, hey, at some point, at some future date in my life, I'll be able to do these things. I want to do them now.
Yeah.
I'm especially now. I'm not getting any younger, so the more I can do and experience now, I'm going to. Not
Yeah.
at the sake of putting our family finances in jeopardy, but
Right.
you know, we just took a trip to Nashville. You know, was it necessary? I think so. It was our
Yeah.
anniversary, and we were going to celebrate it, and you know, it didn't affect our family finances too much. So why not? Let's go enjoy life and enjoy each other. And
Well, that's like, I mean, me and Amy took a trip recently to Gatlinburg, and we saved up for a few months, just 10-20 bucks here or there in cash, set aside. And so when we went, we didn't take anything out of our savings, we didn't take anything out of our main accounts. It was just this this cash from tips that we had set aside. And we went up for 3 days. And was that necessary? Absolutely. Because we hadn't gotten time away together since we first started dating, and it's been a hell of a year. So it was absolutely necessary for us to just get away and get that time, to just kind of decompress before getting back into our work schedules. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that I'm learning right now, is that you know there's a right way and a wrong way to view money. And it's taken me a long time to not just what's the best thing I can do with my money to affect me right now, and looking at it in the way of, here are some things I can do right now that will affect me in the long term. Here's things that I could do right now that are going to affect me in the short term. And here's things I can do that are going to affect me immediately. And these are all valuable things. And just picking the things that are going to impact me immediately will leave me in a bad position down the road. But that doesn't mean that I need all of my eggs in that long-term basket. I still need to live. I mean, there's an issue of quality of life, and focusing too much on that immediate quality of life can impact your quality of life later down the road. But as you said, it's balance. It's about balancing everything that's going on, and finding that moderation of, yeah, I am going to enjoy myself, but I'm also going to plan for the future. And, you can do both.
Yeah. All right. So you've been on a couple episodes now, and so I give you the opportunity to kind of plug the restaurant where you are. Tell us about where you are.
Yeah, so I am the bar manager at Chrysalis Modern Italian. Um, Chrysalis, like a cocoon from a caterpillar to a butterfly. But we are a uh, modern Italian kitchen, scratch Italian kitchen. We make everything in house. We don't have a freezer in the kitchen or a fryer or a microwave. It's all made to order, and craft cocktail bar, designed by yours truly. The whole idea of what we're doing is, being that we define ourselves by Chrysalis, and our slogan is transformation lies within. And we truly do believe that, within our doors, whether you're a customer or a server or a bartender or a cook, you can find a transformative experience there. And that takes a lot of focus on us as a team, really reaching to do that for people, whether it's a customer who's had a bad day, and we get to make their day a little bit brighter, or help them celebrate something or whatever it is. And or if it's a server, and we can help them hone their skills and become better at what they do, and reach personal goals. That's really what we want to do. But we're also just serving a neighborhood that is kind of oversaturated with chain restaurants, and there are some great restaurants in the area, but in general it's hard to get good scratch Italian food in that area. And we like to think we do as good a job as any in the greater Nashville area. And certainly you'll be hard pressed to find a cocktail menu like ours in the Cool Springs area. But we're just a little bit south of Nashville. We would be honored to have anybody listening come in and say, hey, we are definitely all about the customer, and making y'all's experience as good as it can be. But yeah, that's us.
I'll say this: your mom and I have been there several times now. Once together, and then on our own a couple of different times. So I love it. I think it's what you and Andrew are doing, and the rest of the team there. It's just fantastic, and compliments to the chefs, and the food has always been amazing. And of course, I'm a big fan of your cocktails. So with that, I'm going to lean into a new project that I'm excited that you and I are going to be embarking on here shortly. Probably the week of New Year's, I hope to be able to have our first episode, our night of happy hour with Ben and Scott. We're going to do a separate thing under a different thing, different title, happy hour, and it'll be about all about making cocktails, and maybe some tidbits from the service industry as a whole. But the initial focus will be how can you make some drinks at home, or how can you spice up your meals around the house. And so I'm really excited about that project. Still putting it together with Ben, but yeah, I am excited about doing that.
Yeah, me as well. I think that one of the things that I've learned in the bar industry is that there's a lot of lacking information and misinformation that's kind of given to the general public by, whether it's by bars or liquor companies or whatever it is. But for a long time, the market of alcohol consumption was driven by marketing, rather than knowledge. And thankfully, that's something that's starting to change as the general consumers are starting to learn more, and they're going to bars where bartenders know more and are able to teach them. So, I'd love to go through some classic cocktails, and really just talk about life, life behind the stick, and what it's like to be a bartender. I'm sure there's a lot of people who will enjoy either reminiscing about old stories or hearing new ones, or so if you have any questions for a bartender or a server, if you have any drinks that you're interested in and want to learn more about, or spirits or whatever it is, let us know. We are in the customer service industry, so we will do our best to meet those requests to the best of our ability.
One of the things I'm most excited about, your mom and I took part in a wine tasting and pairing while we were in Nashville a couple of weeks ago. One of the things I want to learn more about is with the cocktails, what kind of foods go with it. There's a lot of emphasis on, red wine, white wine, those types of things, but there's also a whole plethora of options available to where you can pair certain cocktails with certain food as well, and
Sure.
Enjoy the pleasure of not only the cocktail, but let it complement the food and vice versa. So that's, to be honest, that's probably what I'm most excited about as we get into this new project.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
All right, and for Life Lessons with Scott and Friends, again, thank you, Ben, for coming on and reminiscing a little bit with me. And as always, you want to be part of the show, love to have you hit me up. We'll get you on as a guest, and you can share your life lessons, no matter what they might be. And we'd love to have you be a part of this. And if not, if there's a subject that you'd like to see us talk about, maybe something we haven't covered, or just general information you'd like to get our thoughts on, please hit me up, DM, and otherwise, remember to hit like, share with all your friends. You can find the podcast here on YouTube, as well as Apple and Spotify. So until next time, Ben, everyone, peace. Take care.